Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the Gaia Daily for May 27th, 28th, 2020. How are you doing? Well, today is an exciting day for me because my new website is finally up and the SuperNova Soul Tribe membership group, and I want to talk to you more about that. But first, for the daily update. So today we have Venus has moved on. It's tomorrow. Venus will move to 17 degrees and it's retrograde coming out of that square with Neptune. Wow, that was excruciating and intense. And it seems that for these supernova souls, what's coming up has to do. I've been seeing this picture of how we've been talking, of course, about the shift of ages that we're in. But there's this bigger, wider geometry, and the shift of ages is 2,160 years about, right? And then if you take 12 of those, like the 12 signs of the zodiac, you'll get like about 25,000, almost 26,000 years. So there's these concentric cycles. And the reason why this shift of ages is so intense is because it's like a coming together geometrically of all these cycles of time and a collapsing of all the stories of this whole Earth evolution, it feels like. And so for the supernova soul, there's so much coming up. I'm seeing flashes of intensity of these stories of different ages where there's definitely an energy coming up today because the moon is in Leo today. It's giving us some fire. We haven't had any fire for a minute, which is refreshing. And but there's this energy of urgency that always comes with fire energy. And there's this, because we're being shown right now in the world, whereas before we could easily kind of ignore how asleep people are and everybody's kind of off in their own timelines doing their own thing. And now we're in this converging place of timelines. And so there's this a dark and scary energy coming up for the supernova soul around running out of time. Now, the whole deal with where we're at is we're shifting dimensional frequencies, and our relationship to time in the fourth, fifth dimensional energies is completely different, right? Third dimension, we cut it. We take something that's circular spiral and stretch it out and cut it into pieces, right? It's like a total illusion. So we have to remember that this running out of time, and there's this urgency in these soul groups of like, but it has to do with past life stuff around not feeling like you fulfilled your mission on earth and, you didn't do all you could do. And now this energy right in our face of, all that we've been told and warned about, through like 1984 and throughout time. And it's like, ooh, all of a sudden within a couple of months, this kind of new world order police state is right outside of our door. And this feeling of like all of these situations of intensity that you as a supernova soul came to be a part of specifically. So it's kind of the definition of who you are in a way, because supernova souls have come in often at the very darkest times or the time of shifting to bring the light, to hold the light. But then because they're so sensitive, they took that personally, kind of like, oh, well, you failed to move the earth into light, right? But maybe it wasn't time, and that wasn't what you were doing. And it's like too much of a job for one person, right? This is the deal with the supernova soul tribe, like coming together and being like, just a very deliberate action to say, to these souls, to you guys, that like there's a whole bunch of you on the planet and you're not alone. And this project we're working on together is something we've been working on for eons. But it does make sense that as we go through this, it's like the outside world with all this retrograde energy and this strange lockdown energy. And this is the weird thing. It looks like we're going backwards, right? It looks like we're de-evolving. It looks like we're going back into the dark ages. And it feels like that, like, whoa, I give up. New planet, please, right? Like there's just moments of this. This is just part of it, right? And understanding that if this is concentric geometry in all these cycles and they're all coming together at this one point, it would be natural to feel a going back especially as you're embodying as a supernova soul more fully into this earth right now. That's kind of what the energies are doing. They're like pulling you into your incarnation, where before you've been partially incarnated. So you're being pulled into this incarnation. And then you have to feel all the places that went to sleep, right? So all those times you came in the darkest, scariest times and felt like you were one little drop that couldn't do anything. And these messages of like, what are you going to do? You lost, there's no winning against this monster. And it's totally not true. We know this. We can feel we've already made a fundamental shift that cannot be undone. The light cannot be stopped. It's so much brighter than all the stories. But that's kind of where I come, like, as far as like my work, it's like I'm passionate about, because you supernova souls have this huge amount of gifts and ability and precious energy for this world. And yet you're playing small, you're hiding, you don't know who you are, you feel completely disconnected and like you have no purpose, even though you have a very strong purpose, but everybody around you has been invalidating that purpose. And it's like, okay, time to get serious about who we are, right? Which it's perfect energy today for this launch for me, because the moon moving into Leo and having this energy of what we're feeling right now is we're starting this next transit, which goes on all the way to the middle of June through the next through the lunar eclipse, through the full moon in Sagittarius. And so I think we feel it all the way through the middle of through the middle of June. And so we're just starting to feel this sun in square to Mars. Now we've had this really intense Venus square Neptune, the same signs, right? Venus in Gemini, square Neptune in Pisces. Now the sun is in Gemini still, and the Mars is in Pisces. So it's almost like a continuation of this next chapter, but the sun is like, who do you think you are? Now Gemini has no idea who they are, because Gemini is so good at being what everybody else, like fitting in and kind of exploring all the other options. And Gemini is all about trying to become oriented with who you are with the outside world and relationships. And especially speaking to those early relationships that gave us our very first orientation, which is across the board, supernova souls seem to have a lot of pain and trauma in those early relationships. So it's all on the table right now. And Mars is like, or the sun is like, who are we? Who are you? The sun is like, what is the role you want to play in this lifetime? In square to Mars and Pisces, it's of course going to bring up all of this stuff from the Piscean age, who you were before, which was the martyr, sacrifice, taking on all the garbage, being in the soup, healing everybody, and, leaving yourself in pieces, and that's massively needs to be rearranged. And that seems to be very connected to all of these intense energies coming up to be cleared of other dark times on the planet, other shifts, intense shifts. And where these souls felt like they, again, coming into this Sagittarius full moon, our first energy of the Sagittarius South Node, and the South Node is what's holding us back from the past. And so in Sag, it's about where we feel like we failed on our mission. This is coming up so huge right now, where for these supernova souls, energies are changing to support you better. That means that you're going from the feeling of everything working against you, and this kind of like constant battle to try to get anywhere, to like the energies trying to support you. And this really comes up with this Uranus and Taurus thing, which we've been feeling for the last couple of days, Mars in that sextile to Uranus and Taurus. And Uranus and Taurus is about a new vibrational frequency in the area of self-worth and value, and what we value in our society and our inner worth. And so it's like this energy of feeling like you did not, succeed in the past and bringing the light to the earth. And now it's all coming up where you had it all suppressed, and now it's all coming up. And then it's really, that's interfering with your ability to receive the new vibrational frequencies, and I'm seeing this across the board, and it's really powerful, because it's like, wow, what if there's these blessings trying to come in? You're ready, you're moving in, you have a choice right now to move into this higher frequency vibration. It's why you came, it's who you are, it's a definition of you as a soul. And yet feelings of low self-worth and programming, which is totally normal in these soul groups too, because of what you've experienced in past lives, and because you didn't have those spiritually connected early relationships, then it just feels like you don't deserve, and you can't. So how, what is this the fundamental shift that needs to happen in the supernova soul to feel worthy of who you are? Because it's not something like, it's these blessings are trying to come in, but it's not about like something outside of you, God coming down. That's the Pisces paradigm, right? Like God coming down and saying, oh, you've done well, my child, here you go. It's like, it's not about that. It's about you remembering who you are and the light and the power of who you are and the support you need to do what you're here to do, right? So Uranus in Taurus is like, what do we need to like the basic needs we need to live and exist and flourish, and what if is a big thing that's holding us back right now is these supernova souls not being able to receive this support into their life, not feeling they deserve it. And then it's kind of I can feel it, just this thing of like this, maybe this opportunity, this person, this information. There's this deep grief energy, which is the Pisces energy, Mars and Pisces, of missing out. It's all, and it's funny because it all goes back to the whole timeline thing. Like, we're running out of time, we're missing out, we didn't do it right, we didn't do it on time, we're hopeless and helpless. And it's like, no, that's not what's happening. But that appears to be what's happening. And that's an interesting energy because we've got, Venus retrograde, and then crossing over the Venus retrograde will be Mercury retrograde. And then crossing over the Mercury retrograde will be Mars retrograde. And Mars comes out of shadow on January 1st, 2021. So we are in it. In it to win it. Win 2021. And so it's like, but when a planet goes retrograde, and so we've got right now Jupiter retrograde, Saturn retrograde, Pluto retrograde, it's like everybody's retrograde. And when a planet turns retrograde, they're not actually going backwards. It just appears. And this is a really important message for these souls right now, for you supernova souls. It's like the retrograde energy is appearing to go backwards, right? We're appearing to go back into the dark ages. But it's not possible, really. What's really happening is massive lights coming in. The control energies are like crunching down to make sure we don't get the benefit of the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, of this beautiful expansion of positive change, breaking down big pharma, breaking down our educational system, breaking down our financial system to better fit humanity in its new chapter. Right. And so, but there's this glory there's the breakdown energy of Jupiter and Pluto, but this glorious energy of possibility, that's what Jupiter brings. And when that came in, it was like, that was right when the draconian state started to, the lockdown happened. So the good news is we've got 2 more Jupiter-Pluto conjunctions. And also there's a lot of energy of like the 20s, abundance, Uranus and Taurus, and Jupiter, Pluto bringing opportunities, abundance, right? And yet we're in this place of like Venus retrograde, the tide's going out. And so again, it brings me back to this thing of like, with the Venus retrograde for you souls, for supernova souls, it's like, do you deserve your path, your purpose, your light, your abundance within? It's a fundamental fact of who you are, and it's why you're here. And it's a massive shift. Like, the next shift we're waiting for is for these really bright souls to come online and own it, and shifting the energy, right? So that's where we have to remember too. So I'm sorry, talking in circles, Gemini energy, but there's this thing around for what I'm seeing in souls right now is this like, oh my gosh, I need to go wake people up. I need to go do something. I need to go sign a petition. I need to protest. I need to talk to people about why they're wearing a mask, and things like that, right? And this feeling, it's really past life stuff. And it's kind of too late for that in a way, because we're on the verge of a shift into a higher dimensional frequency. It's happening. And what tips it over is you going, being there, allowing your presence there. But it's like the closer you get, the more this soup, this darkness, people, I've been seeing these supernova souls that really thought they got beyond, this energy of heavy, dark stuff, like just pulling them back in these last weeks, and that's maybe just an important fact. It's like the closer you get to breaking out of the matrix, like the more that those energies are going to come and just pull you right back down in. But when we collectively, these soul groups are like, whoa, I'm going to be in this energy, and that's the revolution, right? And I think we do need to take conscious action. We do need to stand up for our rights. We do need to talk to people, communicate, and share the truth. But there's a frantic feeling that comes with it, that as actually a blooming and a cleansing of these past life experiences where you felt like you didn't do enough and you didn't save the earth in time and you didn't get, so it's just like it's important to kind of sort out this stuff that's actually past life stuff coming up to the surface, and then the present moment. And your revolution is in stepping into that bigger, wider truth of who you are as a supernova soul, in this big light that you came to embody. And that big light, the exact energy and the capability you have to hold this big light, has been burdening you down in the garbage dump, right? Trying to recycle everybody's crap. And so it's like this permission to, be in that bigger, wider truth of who you are. And that's the revolution. That's the protest that needs to happen right now. And so in a way, this whole like, you're not doing enough and you got to go and save and wake up and all this, it's like, that's pulling you back down in the soup. That's a very tricky place. I'm just seeing these souls straddle this line. And what they're really straddling is this culmination of past life stuff that doesn't have to do with right now, but it does kind of, right? And just keep in mind that the retrograde planets aren't moving backwards. They appear to be moving backwards. Why? Because they're closer to the earth. They're like going behind us in a way. And they're closer to the earth. They're having more of an effect. And it looks like they're going backwards. And that just feels like where we're at in our evolution. We're devolving, which is scary, right? Because this has been the whole problem, where the control energies have kept us in the reverse ratio, thousands of years and thousands more years of coming back and creating the same trauma patterns. And we're like, no, we can't do it anymore, right? And yet, when we as the microcosm stop these trauma patterns, right? So it makes sense it's all coming up with the dark patterns, trauma patterns for these souls manifested in relationships, and those dark relationship energies coming back. And a message is coming through around this, like this light, this just for that moment of knowing this bigger self, just validating that for yourself. It's like, they are so not in your league. Those lower karmic relationships of like, oh, they're going to come back and traumatize you again, and they're going to suck you, hoover you back in. And it's just like, ugh, not in my league, right? Like, you're here for something so much greater. And that's the relationships that are trying to come into your life. And that's why the tide is going out. And it feels like these souls feel more alone than they've had. Even it's like almost facing the aloneness, right, of how they felt over lifetimes. And know that too, right? This deep isolation energy that's been triggered by social distance and by the Venus retrograde, square Neptune, and all these stuff's coming up, things coming up for these souls from past lives. It's like, oh, this is also a past life, an early childhood energy that I'm visiting and clearing. And I have an opportunity to go in with precision to understand that and let it go. And so that you can allow these more evolved relationships of like people who can meet you where you're at And I'll tell you what, these toxic relationships, it's like if you really check it out and look at it, it's like they're not on your level. It would take thousands of lifetimes for them to catch up with you. So why are you giving them your energy? They're going to just continue to abuse you and pull you into trauma. And you're going to be like, oh, but I think I should save their soul. It's like, we got to stop with that. Right. Because once you go far enough down the narcissist spectrum, there's no saving. It's kind of like there is a point where souls, like the darkest satanic shit that's going on, those aren't really souls anymore in a way. They're just like empty shells, and it's just going to go to get recycled. They're done. They've already chosen that. So we got to stop with the saving, right? And maybe that's this Mars and Pisces energy, because Mars is the warrior self, right? And so we're in this dark, muddled war with back in the war of fighting the battle against the evil. And that's a big part of the energy for the supernova soul. It's like, again, it's like your vibration is way beyond that, and stop sullying yourself. Right? Like you have to be sovereign and take care and honor. Be the temple. Show the universe you're ready to hold sacred the light that you are. And just it's interesting because like in multidimensional higher beings, when they negotiate, like the very advanced beings that don't need a body, they won't even bother with the Draco reptilians, right? Like they have to have an emissary. They won't even be in the same location as them. And that's kind of where these supernova souls need to be. Like, it's a different level of boundary. It's like your white light shield. And it's just like, this is my vibration. And it's hard because I can tell when people come into this vibration, there's a reaction from the world, right? They're like, what? What's that? That's going to burn me. Oh, wait, I want that. Why do you get that? And I don't want that. Oh, you're making me feel uncomfortable. You're revealing my shadow. I got to tear you down. And it's like, oh, this huge reaction. And it's like, hey, I can't handle not being in my white light shield anymore. So just if you don't like it, get the F out of the way, right? So anyway, this is the whole point of the Supernova Soul Tribe, is that back in 2015, I, as an intuitive healer and teacher, looking at past life pictures, gradually more and more, these stories started to come through around these souls. And it was like little piece of the story each time. And at the time I called them indigo souls. And then I was really struggling for years, as I've written a book about these souls and I'm in the process of editing it. And this is what this new website is about. It's specifically because I found that the work I'm doing and the messages I have are for very specific soul groups. And there's different groups, right? And that's something we can get into. But I also kind of got the message that categorization is not that helpful. The grand categorization of the supernova soul is very helpful. But anyway, so I was calling them indigo souls, but it doesn't quite fit. Indigo only fits one ray of these souls, like the first wavers. And so I was trying to figure out what in the heck, and then understanding this very specific story of these souls, like very different experience than the regular kind of a person, a soul that's just going through human evolution on Earth. Just this, their focus is just this Earth. They've had thousands and thousands of lifetimes here. But you as a supernova soul have had lots of experience. So the definition is a soul that's had lots of experiences and whole evolutions. You've gone through spiritual ascension before ever coming to Earth. And you bring the codes for spiritual ascension. That's why you're here. And so look at this. It's like, well, wait a minute. We're trying to shift into the new age. But then those people that are here to lead the way feel like helpless, hopeless, crippled, isolated, like insane, and part of this has to do with that. As a supernova soul, only part of you could be here because you're so big. And then at some point, a rapid spiritual awakening happens and the bigger part of you starts landing home. And that could be traumatic because your structure of your life don't fit that bigger part of you. They don't support you and your life falls apart. And it's that ego death. It's this very difficult time. And this is what this soul group tribe membership is for, to support each other in this type of process and to find each other there's huge energies of like quarantine and blockage that keeps these groups. But the reason why this whole story started to come through the intuitive sessions is because these souls come in groups. It was about, hey, work with the group. There's a group of these souls all going through similar issues. So then when you ask the group to observe the past life picture, kind of like a tarot card, like just a picture, they can receive the healings if they're ready. And then that amplifies the healing for the individual, connects the soul group and the individual energetically. So first you connect with your soul group energetically, then they can show up in person, right? And so the soul group tribe, the supernova tribe is like, okay, let's be deliberate about this, right? Are you ready to examine and release everything that's keeping you from this bigger, greater path that you have, but then everybody around you has invalidated? Because that's just part of the lower karmic relationship story. Because something, maybe you were persecuted in your past life, and then something happened, and you were like your power was used against you, say your followers, and people loved you or something like this, and then there was a war or they were killed, and then you're like, whoa, never doing that again. Do not do that again. Hey, you guys, no matter what, just make sure I never come into my power again, right? But the times necessitate that it's time for you to come into your power again and drop all those old stories. That's just part of it, and let those stories validate you as a supernova soul, and use our power together. This is what I'm told again and again. Our power is together. And and also part of the supernova story, this is long and involved, but if you go to join the membership group, there's exclusive content, and it's really fun to make this exclusive content videos just for the supernova soul, because I know you guys are on the team, you get it. And I can go deeper into these concepts like soulmates, right? So part of the whole supernova experience is also working in a divine marriage, masculine, feminine, no matter what body you're in. We all have masculine and feminine, but the sacred marriage energy of sacred partnership and the power of together and the soul group and the power of together, that's where our consciousness, that's where we cross over the edge. And that's why I'm passionate about bringing these souls together. And so from 2015, it started coming through as a story, and I couldn't find a name. I couldn't describe, I couldn't brand these souls. And finally, all the pieces have come together. And that is just launched today, this Supernova Soul Tribe membership group. So it's $9.99, it's $10 a month to be on the website. It's a private forum, exclusive content. And then you get discounts to the events. And there's also, I'm working on downloadable courses, and you'll get discounts on those as well. And the downloadable courses are specifically to address the issues of these supernova souls, so we can clear out those authority contracts, all the garbage that's keeping us in the lower vibration. And so that is the deal. Now, there's also a Facebook group that is free, and everybody can join that, and we're going to be working on those concepts there. So it's open to everyone. And I'm just super excited to share this with you. And it's interesting because it's like searching for this name, what to call these souls. It was like such a journey, because I was like, well, indigo, but indigo has energy of kind of depression. It's kind of heavy. It's like a dark purple energy of grief, planetary grief. And then empath is a word that's been used for these souls, and that also has like a weak feeling to it, like and also a sensitive soul, but that also has a connotation of weakness. And these souls are extremely sensitive. They're also super bright and strong and determined, because otherwise you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't have made it through all you made it through. You are so strong. And we got to claim this back. And that's the supernova energy. So a supernova is a super bright exploding star it's not actually a new star. Nova means new, but it's newly seen, right? It wasn't seen before. And that super bright explosion of 10,000 suns, that speaks to the rapid spiritual awakening and how these souls are here to lead the way for spiritual ascension. And then the supernova explosion, the star then can become a white dwarf, and that's like an elder, which these souls have this elder wisdom within them. even though they feel like they're flailing little babies here on Earth. And that's this very interesting how the supernova energy fits, because it's like it's an old star that it's exploding into a new form, into spiritual ascension, with all that wisdom being exploded, and also new, because they're rather naive to the level of duality on the earth, and they've gotten very manipulated and totally pulled into lower karmic vibrational relationships and all that, right? So the supernova really, really fits the paradigm. And then so after they explode, they can become that white dwarf, that wisdom, that elder wisdom, or they explode into pieces that become the parts of new star systems and new galaxies. And this is the energy of supernova soul. Like, as much as they've been persecuted in past lives, they have this huge devotion, dedication. They feel that they're here for something. And yet the people around them are like, you're just egotistical, right? And it's like, so to have this strong desire to express something here and to help and to serve, and yet be so disconnected from those gifts of what you have, because it's like the supernova soul, super, super sensitive to their environment, right? Because that's the mark of an advanced soul. The more advanced we get in our spiritual evolution, the more sensitive we get, and energetically, right? And that's going to happen en masse as we go through this evolution. And as we go through that evolution, that's where we've got to change some stuff on the planet, right? We can't have like dark energies and dark satanic rituals going on, because we can feel it and it can't happen, right? That's where we're at. But anyway, but this sensitivity makes these souls feel so inadequate and so oversensitive, and but that is actually a sign and evidence of your higher intuitive abilities, right? Your sensitivity and your inability to deal with this world is evidence and a sign and a symptom of this huge intuitive ability that you have, except for that you've been disconnected from that and you just feel incapable and like you're flailing around, barely making it through 3D. And that's changing because the earth energies are changing. And that's this whole shift I was talking about who are you? Are you your star self, or are you this broken, what everybody around you wants to keep you as? Because as long as they keep you in the broken, incapable baby soul place, then they can continue to feed on your light and power. And are you going to be the star you are? Are you going to hold sacred? Are you going to learn how to be the framework, be the temple for this light to land? And that's what you're here to do. And we get to do it together, and the power of working together as a group. So this is the energy behind the Supernova Soul Tribe. So thank you so much for letting me share that with you. And you got a little bit of an energy around that. Another word that has been used for these souls is wanderers, star seeds. And the supernova soul fits everybody in the same category. Any soul that's had experiences, evolutionary experiences before coming to Earth, meaning they have the codes for spiritual ascension, that's a supernova soul. And they're here for that. So supernova souls often don't feel like they're kind of not. We all have a fear of death, just like as a normal human, like in a human body, thing. But supernova souls are like, they're here for a full expression and like a feeling of living and like wanting to have this. They'd much rather have their spiritual evolution than, that's the supernova thing. They're willing to, it's just like not so just a sense of that we're immortal. And, we've had all these experiences. And then when you wake up to this as a supernova soul, you're like, ooh, I'm so much more than this reality. And I know I've gone through so much more. And there's all these other realms out there. And then what am I doing here? I feel like I'm wasting my time because Earth doesn't even want it. The humanity doesn't even want it. They want to just put their masks on and go about their business. And so that's this frustration. But it's like, actually, this is this pressure. Like what happens to the supernova star is that it gets this incredible pressure. And these are like radioactive materials, right? Like, this is what the supernova soul is made of too. And eventually it gets so heavy, it collapses into its own weight, and then it goes into runaway nuclear fusion, which is like free energy, right? And so it's like, understand that, as that's coming back to that concept, that the closer you get to setting free, getting out of the matrix, the heavier it gets. You know, the closer you get to breaking through to that higher spiritual vibration that you know is more true, more real than anything in this manifested world. So that's what I'm kind of saying. They're not attached to the physical reality, because it's like, come on, let's just do this. And this is kind of the energy today with this moon in Leo, the first fire we've had in a little while. And it's like, oh, what are we doing here? Who are we, right? And so that energy of that Sun square Mars, like I said, it's going on for the next couple of weeks. And it's, who are we in orientation to the past and the future? Piscean age, the Aquarian age. Who are we in orientation to spirit, source, you know, and not the delusional lies of the playing out of this world, but that bigger, wider truth. And that's basically a definition of You Supernova Soul. So thank you so much for being here. And I hope you'll check out that Facebook group, or I'll put the links below, and also the membership group. And I look forward to connecting together and seeing what happens. So thanks so much for being here and following. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for the next update. Till then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.